on the whole for the trip, I wanted to blend in as much as possible. As silly as it might sound, I'm an Englishman, and I needed to blend into, let's just say, a multinational migrant camp. So I decided to drink pints of carrot juice to try and tone my skin complexion. And I was on the sunbed, and I also grew a beard.
Did the carrot juice work?
I can't say the carrot juice worked physically, but it definitely helped me mentally. So making progress now. I actually spoke to quite an expert seafarer, and he gave me some advice. He told me that one thing I must do is I must have a device to be able to make an emergency call. He said the second bit of equipment I must have is a life jacket. He said, do not get on that boat without those bits of equipment. I am migrant dinghy ready. All aboard. He said, because once that boat takes off, there is no going back. You cannot stop what is about to unfold in front of you.
The ice baths were preparing you for potentially being plunged into the water. You're a strong swimmer, I gather.
I was prepared anyway for the cold plunge in case my body was just had to be forced into the middle of the channel, into the cold water. And I didn't want to start panicking because, as the seafarer said, once panic sets in out in that situation, there's no real way that you can come back from panic. And he said, and that's when it gets really dangerous.
So you'd taken some Meta glasses.
Yep.
How do they work?
They have a charging case, which just looks like a normal sunglasses case. And you take them out, put them on, and as soon as you want to take a picture, you click the button once. If you want to take a video, you just hold it, and away you go.
One of the contacts that you had made suggested that you might actually start the trip from the UK.
They call them travel agents, really. The story that I told him just suited me going to France by illegally under the radar. He told me that I should meet his contact in London.
Right.
So at this point, I said, well, okay, where and why? Well, go to the safe house, meet my man, and he will take you where you need to go to the lorry. So, yeah, they were going to put me in a lorry and send me to France, basically.
So what that tells me is that the people smuggling operation is more than just one way. There is some arm of this operation that actually involves return routes.
Oh, yeah.
We don't understand that fully.
No.
But in the event you decided that was actually too risky and it might jeopardize the whole mission.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain about how you were making contact with people smugglers? This is all before you set off, while you're still in the UK.
Yeah.
How were you making contact with them? And what kind of code are they using? Because the social media giants have now had to remove or tried to remove as many adverts as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are moving the adverts. I don't believe they changed the algorithm because not much of the code has changed. I've not seen as many accounts on there, but there are still a lot of accounts. I mean, obviously, I've taken numbers from these TikTok recordings. I now have the phone number, so I'm also watching the WhatsApp stories, which are even more detailed and less policed than, say, TikTok.
And what kind of words are they using to describe the services that they're offering?
Travel agents, it seems to be a new one that's cropping up as well.
Oh, they're now travel agents?
They're now travel agents, yeah. So international travel agents.
Right.
Yeah.
Of the criminal variety.
Yeah.
By the way, when you've been dealing with the people smugglers, what name had you been using? I assume you weren't using
Yeah, so my name was Rohat Azad.
Right, is that a common name in...
No, it was just, I translated its meaning over to just Azad. It's just sort of stuck in my head from sort of seeing a few of these posts and a few names on it. It's just easy to say, rolls off the tongue. And Rohat means sunrise. I just thought it was maybe a nice positive spin to give the trip, really.
Right, okay. So you became, in this early stage of the mission, you were Rohat.
I was Rohat. It's a lot deeper and darker than what we understand. It's more organised.
Should we get stuck in? This is the men's club. Isolation's a very big thing nowadays.
It's certainly improved my mental health over the years.
That is delicious.
It's fantastic that just by playing on the National Lottery, you get to see this.
But all of this is because of you.
Build a website you love. with Wix. For your words, create your brand, your opportunity, your breakthrough.
Off. Shower.
Well, let's talk about how you started off this trip.
Yeah.
You flew from, in the event, you flew from Manchester to Paris.
Yeah. Manchester Airport, that's where I am. Let's have it.
And you
Proper
arrived sort of
Yorkshire
mid-afternoon.
man. Let's have it.
And you thought you will head from the airport to Calais. Was that the geography of it?
Yeah, so my plan, I landed there, I got a tram from the station into the centre of Paris, from the airport to the centre of Paris, and then I jumped on a train straight up to Calais-Ville, and it was quite late on when I got to Calais-Ville. So just arrived at Calais-Ville. Yeah, there we go, Calais-Ville. Quite dark and dingy. Let's see how we get on up as we progress into the village. I decided to just find a hotel for the night and get my head down. We obviously woke up in the morning and that's when it all began.
How did you go about entering the camp, looking for a tent? Can you describe that experience, your first impression?
Yeah.
And you had been
Sorry
before, hadn't you,
about
to the
that,
edges
guys.
of
I've been to the outskirts. I'd flirted through the sort of the camp bits, but I didn't take any time because it was, people was, as soon as they see you, when you're not on the cover, they're sort of looking what you're doing. We actually got chased out at one point on the first trip, so
this is an important point. So just to be clear, journalists cannot, operating openly, they cannot get into the heart of these camps.
no.
Plenty of people have taken footage from the fringes, where the
absolutely.
charities are and so on.
Yeah.
But to get into the heart of the camp, that is quite dangerous.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
basically impossible as a, openly operating with a camera, being a journalist.
If you are seen with a camera as a non-migrant within that jungle, you are very quickly and abruptly chased out.
Right.
They do not want you to be there.
And had you had that experience?
Oh, I've had that experience many a time. Even as an undercover migrant, they were wondering, what am I doing? Why am I walking through here? Certain parts of it anyway.
You go into the camp and you're able to wander in.
Yeah.
And then what sort of happens as you wander through? I mean, what were your impressions at this point? And by the way, what was your mood? Were you excited, nervous? Talk to us how
Oh,
you're
yeah.
feeling.
I mean, I was... The only time I was nervous is when I was trying to G myself up, right, let's take this step into the woods. And once I was in there, I was quite relaxed, I was assessing the situation, sort of trying to work out the potential dangers, so I didn't feel too nervous. There's that much to see that you don't really feel nervous because, from good tents to bad tents, being hung up on washing lines in the jungle, just pure trash, the amount of trash and litter that's just tossed there. Obviously then you've got certain things like little huts which have been built, so I might stick my head in a few of the huts and see what's in here, and you might have like a cooking facility or a canteen. It depends on which camp really. They all had different sort of different sections in the different camps and what they thought was important. So obviously some had toilets, some didn't have toilets. I've got a toilet. Have a look at my toilet. Yeah, I've got a toilet.
When you went in, you were so inexperienced, as of course you would be, that you didn't initially realise that there are different hierarchies within the camp. Some camps are for certain groups and some camps are for others.
One thing that I did, I walked through the camps and obviously noticed that certain areas have got more Africans in, or certain areas got more Middle Eastern people in. So that was the first time I'd noticed that. Now, on the migrant markets, it's kind of relevant because they're all run by Middle Eastern people, the migrant market.
What do you mean by the migrant markets?
So the migrant market, where the charity area is and where they hand out water, phone charging facilities and bread and maybe clothes and stuff, they have these sort of fringe stalls. And
What kind of things are they selling?
Oh, there was one market was selling these lamb kebabs, and to be honest, I've never had a lamb kebab as nice. It was lovely. I actually went back for quite a few.
How much do you have to pay for that?
Lamb kebab with salad and sauce was €5 cash only.
Sounds quite a good deal, actually.
Yeah. So that's where I sort of noticed this isn't just a free for all. There's quite a bit of structure to this.
Quite organised.
And some of them were friendly, some of them weren't. I'm walking around saying, where can I get the tent? And everyone's looking at me as if I'm, who's this guy asking for a tent? No one turns up here and doesn't have a tent, really. So that confused me a bit. So I'm walking around at this point, feeling a bit lost, thinking, what do I do? No, it's like, I don't know how to get into this situation, and no one's really telling me because I don't know how to get into the camp situation. I managed to find two blokes who sort of accepted me. They were Senegalese, and they were quite welcoming, to be honest, quite friendly. They had nothing themselves, and I think they'd actually come without speaking to an agent. They had just turned up, and that's why I think they were quite open to welcoming me.
They were isolated.
They were isolated too. Yeah, their tent was kind of out of a jungle, out of a wood. Used to saying jungle now because that's what they all call it. But so they were out of the wooded area, just more in the bit of the open area. And they can have this tent. You can have so I didn't even have to put my own tent up, which I'd then bought from Decathlon at this point, because I just thought, I'm not going to be able to get one of these tents. I'll buy my own, come back. I'd met these lads, and that's where I was able to sit down and find a spot.
So where are all the tents from then? Did you get the sense that someone is providing the tents? I
believe that the travel agents are providing the tent. I think they're providing the accommodation, probably a sleeping bag, and obviously a safe place to be within the jungle, because these jungles are heavily gang run. As I was told by some migrants later on in the journey, these guys were from the Middle East. They didn't want anything to do with these migrant camps. And this guy who was telling me this was blown to pieces from a war. This guy was, a hardened ex-military guy and from Syria. He was even scared to go into there. He was saying the Algerian mafia, don't want anything to do with it. They'll kill you. Or, if you say the wrong word to them.
I think this is something that's really poorly understood, by people in the UK. The impression that we've had is that these are sort of spontaneous places where, migrants are arriving from all over the world. They have what they have on their back and they just set up camp, and it's all a little bit disorganized. But you're actually painting a picture of something that is much more structured than that.
It's a lot deeper and darker than what we understand. I can't give you the total answer as to what's going on, but I get a strong sense that there's something it's not just people smuggling gangs. It's deeper and darker than that. It's more sinister and more organised.
So a guy that doesn't totally necessarily blend in, as in, your skin is quite pale.
Yeah.
You don't speak another language. No. And you've rocked up without a travel agent. That is a very exposed situation in that camp.
Yeah. I had a situation where I was trying to answer just back with an accent, and it's quite hard to do. When someone's asking you a question that you don't know what they're going to ask you, and you're not prepared with the answer, you then very quickly realise to think of that answer in the accent and answer in good time is difficult.
So you were trying hard to be Rohat, but actually that is quite the juggle, because first of all, what nationality is Rohat? Well, you thought Kurdish.
Yeah.
The danger there is there's a lot of Kurdish people in the camp.
Yeah.
And, you're trying to translate your answer into, your heavily accented English.
Yeah.
At the same time as worrying whether the other person might actually speak the language that you're pretending to be.
Yeah.
That must have made you feel quite uneasy, to say the least.
Absolutely. There was one moment where I decided I need to try and get my story right. So what I decided to do was I need an English-speaking nation, I need a nation that is likely to speak English well as a second language, that nobody else is going to speak the first language of. Anyway, after a bit of research, I selected Armenia.
Right,
So I was a Rohat Azad from Armenia.
right. But you didn't say it like that, did you? Not
No.
Armenia. What was it?
Armenia. Armenia.
So you were practicing looking at the videos of how people speak Armenian.
Yeah. I played a few videos, and to be fair, I did come across one, like the hardest words to say in Armenian, and I couldn't even begin to try and remember what it was like. But it was
So all this
crazy.
is getting a bit far-fetched
Oh, yeah,
at this
absolutely,
point.
absolutely.
You've got yourself sort of semi-settled in the camp. You've
Yep.
got your 2 Senegalese friends. But as we were to discover, they were unusual cases because they were not part of an organised group. They were sort of, they had taken their own initiative to come to the camps. But
Yep.
it didn't seem to you that there were many people like that.
Not really, no. They were few and far between. The point where you really see people coming to the camps is at the bus stop. The nearest bus stop to Dunkirk Jungle is 2 miles away. 2 miles walk, let's say, by the time you've gone around the houses. And you would see people waiting there, sort of smiles on the faces, kind of a bit excited, really. So, obviously, I've had enough time there. I've observed what's going on. They'll have carrier bags. The carrier bags will all be identical, so it might be a carrier bag that's identical, or it might just be some yellow bin liners, that they've all got the same of. So someone is giving them certain things to go from point to point. Who that is, I never found that part out.
After the break, talk will reveal what life is really like living in the world's most dangerous migrant camps, where gunfire and violence are commonplace.
Royal Casino, with over 5,000...
Wow. Just goes to show, doesn't it? What do we know, really? But what does anybody expect? These people, by the sounds of it, they've been bringing heroin over for ages. They've been bringing God knows what. They're raping as children. I think I can say raping on YouTube. Raping little girls. Raping women. Murdering women. When does it stop? When's enough enough?
Let's talk about how you first came to follow migrants to get a dinghy. How did you know that they were setting off to get a boat? What were the signs?
I'd set my tent up. I decided to go to the shop. I thought, I'll go and get some supplies. I took my walk down to the shop, and on the way down to the shop, I saw 2 blokes quite walking quite fast down to the bus stop with life jackets, bright orange life jackets, and which I'd seen being handed out earlier in the camp anyway, but I just didn't see anyone sort of making a dash. So 2 blokes. So I thought to myself, I may as well follow them. Let's see where they end up. Anyway, I didn't quite expect it to take that long, but this journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, on buses, on trains, through streets, all at every key point, the police, the French military police, and the French police were, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there. We finally get to the last bus stop, and I go to get off the bus, actually walk past the copper who was stopping the migrants one by one. He was taking pictures of everyone's face, so I thought, I don't really want him to take me pictures. So I went to go past him. He abruptly hit me on the shoulder and pushed me back. So I thought, let's let him take me picture. I don't want to go getting found out at this point. Anyway, this journey went down into the woods.
You were going from the migrant camp onto multiple buses and trains, and at each stage, was it the same group of migrants?
I believe they'd all come from the same place, from the same jungle, but obviously some of them just set off earlier in the day.
Can you describe the scenes as the bus pulled up to take these migrants on a journey?
Allez, on descend! C'est moi qui décide, allez! Bordel! Descendez! Oh! Vous respectez même pas, c'est quoi ce bordel?
Obviously, as you can imagine, the buses are designed for the French public, and quite a lot of the transport in France is free. So, you know, without you just literally get on and get off, it's that easy. So, with a big influx of migrants making a dash to go and get a boat, there's a blind panic to get on the bus and not miss the bus, because certain buses didn't come that often. There was one moment where, you know, I can't repeat the French because I can't remember it, but the guy was screaming, the bus driver was screaming, he was pushing the migrants back because they're all clambering to get on the bus. And this was the only bus actually where, this was only part of the journey where you had to pay €2, but obviously it was a coach, and it was making quite a long journey.
Did they all have €2?
Most of them had €2. I noticed a couple of paying each other on, and one guy just got let on because he didn't have €2. So.
And were the French police present on that bus?
They were just stood there, fingers in the vest, watching it all go on.
On the bus?
On the bus, off the bus, everywhere. They were literally everywhere.
So just to be clear, the French police are escorting migrants, facilitating their journey from the camps. How many kilometres would you say that you covered on the trains and the buses?
About 50 to 60, really.
Okay, so the French police are accompanying the migrants, knowing that they're clearly preparing to get on a boat. They are accompanying them every step of the way. Is that the case?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
So this is a charade then, isn't it, that the French police are making any effort to stop anyone, because they could stop them at the very earliest stage of the journey?
Okay, well, my theory is actually slightly different. I believe they are making effort to make the migrants leave, because I've seen them bully the migrants. I've seen the migrants be scared of the French police to the point where they just want to get out of there. You know, they are forcing them to get on the boats.
This was a long journey. And you hadn't expected to be following anybody for mile upon mile.
No.
So you'd only got a few possessions with you. You'd left your stuff back in the camp.
Most stuff.
And you eventually get to what seems likely to be the final destination. And night is beginning to fall. Can you describe what happened there?
Yeah, I get to this final destination, and obviously I get off the bus, I have the incident with the police officer, and I start walking down into these woods. Now, bearing in mind, I have no idea what's at the end of this trail. So this road heads to the beach, basically, where they were walking to the boat through the woods, where I followed and I pulled off because some guys were sort of wondering why I was taking so long. So I thought I needed to pull off because I didn't know what I was walking into. So I'm going to walk all the way down this road and see where I come to. I'm expecting there to be a load of migrants getting on a boat at the bottom of this road. And I'm thinking, because I wasn't prepared for it, so I didn't take the cash out, because I didn't want to be walking around that kind of situation with a load of cash in my pocket to pay to get on a boat. So at this moment, I was just going, unnoticed with the crowd, but I didn't have the means to pay to get on it. And this place where they were was in the middle of nowhere. There was no cash machine. So I'm walking through the woods, and I'm thinking, I can't go too deep into these woods right now because I need to assess the situation. There could be a guy with a gun waiting to shoot me at the end of it. I've heard the guns. I know they've got guns. I've been told that they're getting stabbed up when they don't pay and chucked on the boats. And I've seen the text messages from people who were working on boats, on the Border Force boats, saying they're having to do CPR for 45 minutes while they get them back to the shores, and then they didn't make it. So I've seen all this. I know it's happening. And I know it's real, so I thought to myself, well, I've not got the money to pay to get on this boat as much as I wanted to get on it at that moment. And also I thought, well, there'll be another one coming soon anyway, so they're taking off that often. But yeah, what did I see when I got into the woods? I saw the police, obviously, pottering around at certain locations. I was at the back of the long trail of people walking into the woods. I started to fall behind a bit because I just thought I'd break away. Anyway, one guy turns around to me and said, brother, come on, brother. And I'm really starting to panic at this point because I'm thinking, oh no, like this guy's cottoned on to me here. Brother, come on. So next thing you know, he runs back. I'm thinking, oh God, what's he about to do here? So I'm ready for it. And he sort of puts his head down, puts his arm under my shoulder and sort of carries me because I was doing a bit of a limp. And I said, no, brother, it's too sore. You leave me, I will come. You know, that's the kind of situation that was happening while I was walking into this holding camp. No. I knew where the holding camp was. And what I decided to do was get out of there and just think clearly. So that's when I decided to break away from it for
Were
a couple
you
of hours.
expecting a boat to leave that night, or was it already dark? What were you expecting to happen?
Yeah, initially I was expecting a boat to leave that night. Now,
Do you think the migrants were expecting to set off that night?
I don't think they were, to be honest. They all had bags of stuff with them, you know, extra clothes. They were well wrapped up. I was very unprepared because I just didn't know they didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't expect that. But once then I'd seen them in that situation, I then thought, hang on a second, this boat's not setting off tonight. This is going tomorrow morning or in the middle of the night. But then I kind of sussed that it's going to be very hard. I mean, you know, it's going to be very hard for this to turn into a boat setting off. Nobody knows where they're going. It's pitch black. It's going to have to be at the break of dawn.
And what about the tide?
The tide was actually far out in the evening anyway, and it wasn't coming back until 10:30. At high tide was 10:30. Obviously, it starts. That's when it's all the way back in.
10:30 the following morning.
The following morning, yeah.
So did you conclude then that you weren't going to spend the night in the woods? That would have been pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
You would come back the following day.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I was exhausted. I'd not had it because I was following this trail relentlessly. I'd not really eaten or drank any water, not eaten any food or drank any water for the whole period of me following these migrants. So, and the blisters on my feet were absolutely killing. So,
can we just talk about the blisters? Because actually, one thing that you learn about migrant life
oh yeah,
was there's a huge amount of walking involved.
oh yeah,
The distances between bus stops and different places where you can go to get what you need, whether
Yeah.
it's food or charging mobile phones or whatever, they're quite long, aren't they?
yeah.
And you
so,
have the wrong shoes.
Yeah, so I just didn't expect to have to do so much walking. Using public transport non-stop from across the north of France, you know, coaches, buses and trains, there's an incredible amount of, and to be fair, the transport across, even though it's all free, the transport across the north coast is actually really badly disjointed in France. There's no just train that goes nicely across the north of France. So, yeah, I mean, I did a lot of walking and I didn't have great shoes on for it, so.
So you found somewhere to stay overnight, and early next morning, anxious not to miss any of the action,
Yeah.
you headed back down towards the woods.
Yeah.
What did you see?
Into the woods now. Can't actually hear the migrants at all. See any fires or anything. Last night I could really hear it, but they could have gone to sleep or they could be being quiet. Who knows? But yeah, I'm heading up towards where they were. Walking into the woods and it's the break of dawn, so it's starting to come light and I can sort of see where I'm going. Next thing you know, I can smell the smoke from the fire or something, and hey up, that they're still here. So I'm sort of getting a bit excited, running up the hill, and I get to this sort of plateau above where they were. So I was looking down through the trees on this sort of like plateau that I was on, all I could just see was like them sat by the fires, just, you know, laughing and joking. There was about 6 fires going, really, from what I could see. You know, they all had their own little fire going, and I could just see them sort of waiting for the moment.
They think you'll just sit there. But you stand up. Which? The power in you. This is a phone. It can do all your regular phone things, like ignore that alarm again and again and again. This phone can do
And they were waiting for the tide to come in, enough for the boat to come and pick them up. So, talk to me about, how did you know when the boat was approaching?
Well,
migrants were obviously on the move.
Well, I decided to go down and sort of maybe just have another see what else is going on in this woodland bit, see if I can see anything else. Because it was kind of like, well, there's no boat taking off. These migrants are still here. I know where they are. I'm going to be able to see when they move. So they weren't getting out of my sight. So the beach is down that way. Just found a bit of a plateau. The migrants are down in the woods. And obviously there is just rat runs everywhere else. Woods full of rat runs. So I walked down to the road and the police were parked up with the lights on the car. So I'm thinking, okay, well, the police are still here, the migrants are still here. The police are obviously still here for a reason, because they know the boat's going to set off. So next thing you know, as I'm sort of going through this motion in my head, I just see this something dart out of the tree in the corner of my eye. I look round, it's a migrant running down to the beach, and then they just started coming out the woods where I'd just come from, running down to the beach, and so they're running down to the beach, and I'm thinking, right, I'll just wait till they've all come out the woods, and then I'll run down. So I sort of run down. Once it looked like the last one had come down and they're all down there, I ran down. Right, I'll rejoin the group now. They'll never know I wasn't there. And sort of as I get to the point where they've all just come out, just look to see if there's any more. I sort of like paused because I've got a military, you know, the gendarmes looking at me, three of them. So I'm sort of like, hey up, you know, I said to him bonjour, and he looked at me and went bonjour, and we all just started running down chasing the migrants. It was kind of a weird moment. So yeah,
so the police aren't actually trying to stop anyone at this point.
No, they're just literally following them for the sake of their own, for the sake of their own making notes and recording it down. There's no attempt to stop them whatsoever.
How easy do you think it would have been for you to just like mingle in with the migrants as they ran towards the boat and maybe get on that boat? Was that something that you thought about doing?
Oh, absolutely. I really wanted to do it, but obviously I really wanted to do it in that moment, and I could have got on that boat, no problem. The only thing I didn't have the evidence of was really an inkling of what would happen to me once I'd got on that boat. Will I get so far out, and will they throw me over the side? Which it's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal, is it? And then also I was thinking, will I be stabbed and thrown out? And that is a bit of a problem. So I decided I'll video this one. I'll come back more prepared next time.
What was the atmosphere like amongst the migrants as they struggled to get onto that overcrowded boat?
There was a lot of desperation to get onto that. I mean, you know, the sea. It was October. The sea's fairly cold. There was one guy who couldn't swim, who didn't have a life jacket, and you know, he was actually, you know, he'd ended up coming out. But you know, sort of the two women, there was two women who didn't get on, and there wasn't many women at all. I have to say, it was mostly men. But the two women who couldn't get on at that point, or two or three women, you know, they were slapping the water, screaming like real, you know, like throwing real tantrums, screaming loud, and that was sort of that moment. But I actually had some lady come over to me, and she said to me, she was French. She spoke to me in French at first. I said, English. Oh, sorry. She said, what's happening?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
What's that? I don't know English.
What's happening? It's like
so they are boarding the boat to go to Britain. I said, oh, this is illegal migrants on the way to the UK. Oh, no, but is it a school class or something?
But is this like a school class or?
No, this is illegal migrants on the way over to Britain.
Legal?
Illegal.
Are you kidding?
And then she's like, illegal? And she just literally runs off. She ran off, and she was French. It was like news to her.
I've seen the pictures of that migrant boat departing, the one that you saw, and in the background there is a French naval vessel.
For me, I was just sort of like, wow. I mean, you don't really see that sort of thing, do you? You don't really see a big warship out at sea. You know, you've got the search and rescue boat, which was near the migrant boat, making sure, you know, all the migrants didn't, I guess, fall off, and that escorted this dinghy over to the Navy ship. I mean, I didn't have any binoculars with me or a radar, but I guess that Navy ship was there to help the migrants be escorted over to Britain. Now, in my opinion, in my mind, I was thinking in this moment that surely that could be doing something to help, pushing the boats back. You know, it's literally waiting out there to take the boats to Britain. The feeling changed. It felt like you need to get out of there quick. You will lose your life very shortly.
So you didn't get on that boat for very logical reasons. It was too risky, really. So after that, you made your way back to the camp at Dunkirk with the expectation that soon you'd be able to get another boat. You know, quite early on in your experience, you'd been able to see how the boat system works.
Yeah.
At this point, did you think it would be quite easy to repeat the experience and next time get on a boat?
If I saw a boat launch now and I had the funds, I could quite easily get on that boat, I believe. In my mind, it's like I'm thinking, right, okay, I've got the holding camp point. I know where there's some taking off. I mean, it was a great point for them to launch on. But I've gone back to the jungle thinking, okay, I'll go back, collect some more information in the Dunkirk jungle, and next time I see a boat launch, I'll be ready.
Didn't quite work out like that, did it?
No, unfortunately. So I get back to the jungle, I set myself back in. Unfortunately, the weather just took a bad turn, and there was a 2-week period where not one single boat set off.
So during that period, you basically had to make a life for yourself, still undercover in the jungle. Did you go back to join your Senegalese friends?
Yeah, I mean, I went back to join them, and obviously I settled down. Obviously, I went and got a few beers. I mean, everybody in the jungle drinks. It's almost like regardless of your religion. So I went to the shops. I bought a clean pan because the only one I could find was crawling in insects. I bought a clean pan and I cooked a nice African beef stew for us on a campfire. Literally just got a minute on my own. His mate's gone somewhere else. This is what I'm making. Beef stew, African beef stew on the campfire. That's their tent. This is the tent they've given me, but I've said, no, don't worry, I've got my own tent. So we're going to use it as a storage tent. And we just talked, and I observed, and I watched things happen. And then it came to the last night, and I could hear, I'd heard gunfire, but I wasn't quite sure it was gunfire. So during the day, I might hear a loud bang, and you don't know it's gunfire, do you? Just by the sound of it. There was a nuclear power plant nearby. It was quite a noisy industrial area. Anyway, this last night, I'm laying in the camp. I'm laid down. That was when I heard the gunfire, and it was almost like semi-automatic gunfire. So I've got my phone out. I thought I need to record this. I need to record this sound.
We can't miss a life-saving moment. In areas overwhelmed by conflicts and natural disasters, being in the right place at the right time saves lives. I've seen how a moment lost can mean a life lost. Right now, Médecins Sans Frontières is providing urgent medical treatment around the globe. We need help, your help, so our teams can act faster. The life-saving moment is now.
What you've just said is a big deal. Yeah. There is semi-automatic gunfire going off on a regular basis in the camps of Dunkirk. It seemed to be quite a common thing, the guns being fired off, but this one particular night, the gunfire was just constant all night, just non-stop, till about 2:30, 3 in the morning. I mean, they go to sleep late and they get up late. But yeah, this gunfire was going off. I was laying on the floor at this point when it was going off. I mean, the weird thing was you couldn't if it was gunfire and someone was being killed, you'd hear people running and screaming. So that was the only reason I didn't run and leave, because I thought it's not like people are running through shooting people. So it's some sort of messaging or something. I just lay on the ground, just sort of keep my body low. I don't want to catch a stray bullet. I don't know where the bullets are going. It's pitch black. And yeah, I wait till the morning, and this was the point where people with, the face, no one had the face covered in the jungle. Next thing you know, I've got blokes walking past me with masks on, and the feeling changed. It felt like you need to get out of here quick, because you will lose your life very shortly. Do you think they had realised that you were not Rohat? You were something different. They didn't know who you were, but it was clear to them that you were something that didn't fit in.
Yeah. Well, at this point, my Senegalese pal had decided to ditch me. He told me he was leaving the camp with me, and he'd found himself a new camp, and it was quite a sad feeling, really, as daft as it sounds. You're in this situation, like you think you've got a friend, and next thing you know, he's ditching you, because these people who have obviously realised something's not right with me have spoke to him and taken him away from, taking him away so they can use him now. Just leaving the camp now. Wave goodbye to my campmate. Feels quite sad, to be honest. Give each other a hug, said goodbye. Yeah, I'm pretty much I've been warned if I stay where I am, I might be accidentally shot, because so many gunshots around there that at night what happens, people just let guns off in any direction, so it's not a case of necessarily someone would be aiming for me, even though I'm not liked. I'm about 2,000 to 4,000 people, it's hard to tell because they're all in the forest, but I'm definitely the least liked person there.
Were you able to identify anyone that you felt was in charge? Were there any signs that certain people were running the place?
There was a hierarchy there. So there were certain people in the markets. I found out, obviously, from going into the camps and stuff, I found that the people in the markets were working for people. I thought they must just set their own market stall up at first, but they were working for people. And it all headed back to this one camp where they had internal lights, floodlights outside, wheelie bins, shopping trolleys. It was just pristine.
So this camp here is particularly well organised, very clean. Very, very clean. It's got literally wheelie bins, generators going at night. It's got lights. You can hear a generator going at night. It's even got an outpost toilet over there. Yeah, it's a really well organised camp. That actually, it's probably the best camp. I'm not sure. I've not been into there yet. I don't know. I'm going to try and sort of make some friends in there shortly and see where I get to. But yeah, just walking on the outskirts of it at the minute.
You nearly tried to camp in that area, didn't you?
I did. Unfortunately, earlier on, when I didn't know what I know now, I tried to set my tent up, and I was told by a guy, brother, please go, I give you food to go. So I'm like, why? I want to stay here, mate. I want to stay here. And the guy says to me, he says, no, you cannot stay here. I said, brother, nobody else is staying here. Let me stay here. What's the problem? Anyway, he goes, no. And the conversation proceeds to go to Taliban. I said, what, Taliban? He went, Taliban.
Taliban, you look Taliban.
What, the Taliban here?
Here.
What, the Taliban?
Like the Taliban.
Oh,
because have problem.
The police or the Taliban?
Yeah. Somebody people. The mafia.
Oh, the mafia.
Now I am look here because I have no have money. I have no fight. I don't like fight.
Yeah.
But see somebody people, I don't like.
Okay.
Like because you will have problem. Because I am telling you, no live here big problem.
What if I say
you like killed? You like killed?
Really?
Wallah, you stay here. Wallah.
No.
Wallah, you killed. Wallah, maybe tonight.
I went, no. The Taliban are here in Dunkirk? He said, every night. He said, maybe not, maybe like Taliban. Every night. Ta, 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 ta. Every night. He said, you won't lie here dead? You won't lie here dead? And, I just said, no, not really, pal. And obviously he said, right, well, you go. So at that point, I packed my tent up and got out of there.
How did you feel at that point? That must have been quite chilling. I mean, you're telling the story now with humour, but it must have been chilling.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, that was the point, actually, where I moved my tent over to a different location. I've got my tent in my bag. I've got all my belongings on my back. On to pastures new. Nobody likes me. They're all rushing to the UK, but they've not got a minute time for me, that's for sure. Feeling quite disillusioned with the whole situation now, really, because there's something very sinister, something deeper rooted that I'm beginning to sense this guy just did not want me to be in this part of the jungle. So that part where I spoke to him was highly organised.
I recall you mentioning that there were very scary-looking men with one or more dogs.
Yeah, so actually they had one dog, but it was big enough to be like two dogs. The thing was huge, and it didn't look too nice either, and it was off the lead. Now, you know as well as I, once a dog goes, it's, you know, there's not much stopping it, and there definitely wasn't any stopping this thing. Now, these guys had this dog. I hadn't seen them before. They had this like big gold chains, just very cocky, like, you know, no, they're just very, very confident. And the migrants, you see, they're quite sketchy, quite skeptical, and they sort of move in the shadows, if you like. Whereas this guy was just there with his dog. I'm thinking, well, there's not been a dog anywhere. I've not heard any dogs barking or anything. There's no real place to keep a dog. A dog like that, you can't just let it off the lead. It'll eat someone soon. So I'm thinking this is right near the camp that we're talking about, and I'm thinking this guy is some serious guy. You know, I could just feel his energy. So I walked past him. The dog sort of like moved a bit towards me, and I kept on going. I think he might have been living outside the jungle and coming into the jungle to relay messages or instructions to certain people within there.
The atmosphere has changed. It's become very obvious to you that you're being talked about. Now, you've sort of dropped the Rohat thing at this point. It was too complicated.
Yeah.
It's very obvious to people that you're not a run-of-the-mill migrant. You don't have a travel agent. You're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You've got through the night with a gunfire.
Yeah.
You've been told, get out.
Yeah.
What do you think would have happened if you had defied that order to get out?
I would have been shot dead.
What makes you say that?
Because I could tell. I could just tell they were intimidating me, and the guy who actually told me to leave was trying to do me a favor. He was telling me that he didn't want to see anyone killed. He didn't want to see me killed, and he was doing me a favor. He's saying, you've got to go. If you don't go, they're going to kill you. And obviously I stayed another 3 nights after he told me that. And then
in a different part.
In a different part.
Where you felt
I felt safe and welcome, yeah. I say safe and welcome, but, you know, I was obviously at this point, I just knew I had to go. I knew I had to go. I knew that I would be killed if I stayed there any longer. I genuinely believe that all the gunfire that night was not directed at me, but because of me. It was fired because of me.
Hey, quick question. Have you ever applied for legal aid since 2007? Hey, quick question. Have you ever applied for legal aid since 2007? Because you might want to actually hear this.
Basically, cooking up crack in my tent. This is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
So you left the Dunkirk camp. You still haven't managed to secure a place on a boat. And how are you feeling about that at this point? Because quite a few days had passed. You said the weather was not good, but you were very focused still on trying to get a place on a boat. How was it going?
At this point, I was feeling quite frustrated. I was... I didn't want to let the mission down. And this is not the kind of person I am. And obviously, you know, I wanted to make sure that I've invested enough time there now anyway. It was so easy to do. So I thought, well, I can't stay here. I literally can't stay here. So I'm going to be killed. So obviously I made as many contacts as I could throughout the journey. Actually, one of the first guys I spoke to before I'd been into the migrant jungle back in Calais, Calais-Ville, he was called Bilal. Now, Bilal was like a Chechnyan guy, and he claimed to be ex-Russian military police. And to be honest, I believe he was, because he showed me pictures of him in a military outfit with a gun, and I think he's from that part of the world where it's not that out of the norm to do a job like that. So I made contact with him. I get myself from Dunkirk over to Calais, which is not that far, but it's quite a mean feat on public transport. Right now, I'm just wandering the streets as a lone migrant in Calais. No migrants wanted to be my friend. Speaking to one migrant, he said, I can't make any friends in the jungle because they think that I'm European, and because I'm European, they don't trust Europeans, even though they want to come to Europe. Got my tent. I've got my blisters on my feet. I've been walking for days, and yeah, I've got no friends. Got no friends in the north of France. No migrants wanted to be my friends. One other lone migrant actually who didn't want to get involved with the mafia in the jungles because he wanted to keep his family safe. He actually did become my friend. I've got his number, but he didn't have any battery on his phone, so I can't even speak to him right now. But yeah, migrant life as a European isn't really stacking up to be much. I arrive in Calais-Ville and I meet up with him. At this point, it was obviously late on in the evening. He was quite intoxicated, and I've sort of said to him, right, listen, I'm thinking I need to take this guy to take me seriously. So I've said, listen, I need to speak to you properly. And he's like, right, we go somewhere private. So I said, all right, sound, come to my hotel room, let's sit down and have a chat there. So I sit down, I said, listen, I pulled a life jacket out of the bag. I said, here, boat, I want me, life jacket, boat. I want to, obviously again, English speaking barrier. I want to get on a boat. And the guy says, you want dinghy, zingy. So I'm like, yeah, zingy. So he says, right, okay. Next thing you know, he's ringing people off my phone. He rings a guy called Baron. Now he's speaking to Baron because actually in Chechnya, I think they speak Arabic as well, so they can sort of communicate through voice notes. Couldn't tell what they were saying, but anyway, the guy says, right, 7 o'clock in the morning, effectively 7 o'clock in the morning, we're going to cut back from Boulogne-sur-Mer, where I met Bilal. We're going to meet Baron on the streets of Calais. He has a little mini migrant jungle on the streets of Calais, and we're going to go on him. They're getting the boat, hopefully, I think it was like 4 days after or something. I had to stay with these people like 4 days or something on the streets of Calais. They said, so I'm thinking, hey, up, this is brilliant. I'm on my way to getting a boat now. I've revived the hopes of the mission being accomplished. Next thing you know, I'm sort of having a beer, sat at the hotel desk. I look over to him, and next thing you know, he's flat out in my bed. So I've got this Russian bloke flat out in my bed, and I'm thinking, right, what do I do here? So obviously I just had to sort of fall up, had a few hours sleep, sort of sat in the chair like that. And sure enough, 7 o'clock comes, he woke up, and we headed up to meet Baron. And this is where, obviously these guys, Baron was very shifty and very wary of me. He was the youngest one. But yeah, and I got to know these guys really on the streets of Calais.
I mean, that must have been an incredibly strange moment. You're in this sort of cheap hotel in northern France with some Russian or Chechen bloke that's drunk and has fallen asleep on your bed.
Yeah.
The reason he's come to your room is so you can have a private conversation about making arrangements to get a boat, but he's crashed out. Were you not quite frightened in that moment?
Not really, no, because actually he was very friendly, and he had an agenda. When he gets on a boat to come over to the UK, he wants me to be his friend, effectively. So I actually felt all right around this guy. He was giving off, he was giving off quite a good vibe, really.
What do you think? How do you think he was making a living or surviving in northern France?
Well, I think through illegal means, really. I think, there's a point where, obviously I'm with him at this point. He's taking me to meet these guys. So I didn't want to really leave him. I'm thinking I'll stick with him. And there becomes a point where I'm walking through these sort of, I guess they were like high-rise areas, loads of flats, just all clustered.
So you're on the back streets of Calais?
Yeah. Obviously, we go to this pharmacy. He gets all these tablets, prescription tablets, and he buys a load of knockoff cigs. He buys some drugs, and then he goes down to we go down to meet Baron and his pals, and obviously, he was selling things to the migrants.
So effectively, he's a drug dealer.
Effectively, yeah.
Can you describe this young guy, Baron, who was sort of in charge of a small offshoot camp, migrant camp in Calais.
So Baron is he claimed that he was Palestinian, not coming from Palestine though. He was coming from Germany. Now I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through, and you know it's sort of like one thing that we could do, show photos, because we couldn't really speak that much apart from Google Translate. Now some of these pictures that Baron was showing me were not good. I mean, I could tell they were him because he had quite long hair, distinctive long hair. Now, these pictures were, and videos, he was seeing my uncle, and you know, there's guys getting dragged off the back, and he's like smiling watching it, and there's guys getting dragged off the back of lorries, half dead, and shot with machine guns at point blank range, and he's just showing me this stuff, like the kind of stuff that gets banned online and stuff like. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. You know, blokes going through walls. I can't verify what country, but blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. You know, his WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy.
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, you wouldn't want this bloke in the UK. This is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
So what did you have to put up with? You were sleeping rough on these streets of Calais in a tent with a bunch of nutters.
Okay, I mean, let me give you a prime example. I had the Chechen bloke in, and then this Egyptian bloke was next to him, and then there was me and an electric bike. So it was quite compact. Anyway, next thing you know, this guy sort of like unzips the tent, bustles in. I'm thinking, hey, I'm half asleep at this point. I'm thinking, what's going on here? I'm laying on a cold concrete floor, and it's blowing a gale. It's muddy. There's litter blowing around us. I'm just thinking, okay, next, who's this? What's going on? And this guy unzips the tent, pops his head in. Afghan, they kept on calling him. So obviously, you know, at this point, they were calling me UK. That was their nickname for me. And this guy's nickname was Afghan, obviously from Afghanistan. And he's sort of, I'm looking, I can smell this smell. This was the point where I woke up and thought, what's going on? I can smell this real bad smell. Anyway, next thing you know, I look around, the guy's got the bottom of a beer can. He's going like this, and he's got the lights underneath, and basically he's cooking up crack in my tent. So I thought, just the stench was horrible. So I got out, and I just sort of waited around for a bit, and actually managed to get a picture of him in my tent smoking crack. But yeah, I just waited for him to pass. I didn't want to look too soft at this point, so just like getting out while he could smoke crack. So in the end, I sort of kicked off a bit with him. I said, get out now, get out, you know. And then obviously he sort of realised, but actually the other ones sort of saw me sort of having a go at this guy. I mean, I said it with a bit of anger, get out. He sort of reluctantly got out, but it was just a bit of the norm really.
So
to
was
them.
this guy also trying to come to the UK?
Oh, this guy was trying to come to the UK. He was apparently a violent thief. That's how they described him. I saw one of the lads take some cigs out of his bag, a brand new packet of cigs. I said, oh, what, did you just steal off him? Yeah. He went, don't worry, brother, don't worry. I'm like, why? A thief, a violent thief.
How did the story end?
I feel a bit depressed really, because the migrant dream has sort of come to an end in a very weird way. It appears you just can't trust these migrants or the people smugglers. So, yeah. It's freezing.
Did you get on a boat? And if not, why not?
Okay, so I did not get on a boat, unfortunately. The only reason that I did not get on a boat was because, I mean, I was out there for 2 weeks, and there became a point where I had to get back and continue with my day job. You know, I had a business, I've got a business in this country where things needed doing. So unfortunately, I couldn't wait, and the weather forecast was just looking so bad for the future. I just couldn't wait any longer, and I had to come back, unfortunately.
For the modern woman who treasures tradition, our Icelandic wool sweaters.
Just wow.
Care about human life. They are dangerous people. Wake up, Britain. Wake up.
some time has passed since you've got back. You must have a lot of thoughts, you know, looking back on the whole experience. Talk to me about just how poor a lot of the people were that you interacted with. I think there was a moment where you gave one of the migrants a pair of socks and they were incredibly grateful.
Yeah.
How realistic is it that the majority of people who are getting on these boats are able to come up with 1,500 euros?
How they could afford, the most of people could afford a boat fare. Anything that you left lying around, it was gone. You know, if you left it on the floor, it was gone. These people do not have much, and I cannot see how they are paying 1,500 quid for a boat ticket. I've got a guy who I'm staying with, and he's literally got a suit jacket on and tracky bottoms. He's quite clearly just found these clothes. You know, when he's ditched some old clothes, found some new ones and just put them on. The guy has got nothing. To the point where, like, I've sort of taken some socks off. I thought, I need a fresh pair of socks here just because my feet were so sore. I've put some fresh socks on. I've give this guy my dirty socks. You should have seen the guy's face light up, and the dirty socks were not clean at all. They smell. They've been walking through the migrant mud that, you know, which smelt, and this guy's face lit up, and, you know, he has nothing. The guy has nothing, and he was just so happy to take my socks.
So how on earth are they paying the boat fare?
I can't see that most of them are paying the boat fare. I think that there's other ways that this process is being funded.
What about the role of the charities? Because wherever you went, there were charities lurking. What are your reflections on that?
I truly believe that the charities are aiding and abetting the whole process. That's my belief from what I've seen and from what I've heard. These charities are at every single corner of the people smuggling operation across continents. These migrants would not be able to make those journeys unless the charity workers were there, giving them food, giving them clothes, giving them everything that they give them. They wouldn't even be able to contact their people smugglers, which is a key point. It's unbelievable what they're doing. I think they're culpable, really.
What is your sort of overarching takeaway from 2 weeks living with migrants undercover? No one has ever done this before. There's a good reason for that. It is incredibly dangerous, as you experienced.
I just don't think the story that we're being fed, or I pretty much know the narrative we're being fed is not true. It's a lot more deeper, darker, rooted than what we believe. But also, may I add, there are many ways in which this could be solved, as opposed to being fed some garbage narrative by, you know, the Labour Party.
Country first, party second.
There are many ways that this could be solved, and I believe that, you know, from that journey, I've got many of those answers.
Talk to me about the French police, because after you decided you couldn't just carry on living in a tent in Calais with these dangerous people, you decided there was one more thing to do before you went back to the UK, not by boat. That was to confront the police.
It's kind of ironic. I went down to the point where all the time the police had been. This was at Boulogne-sur-Mer, where I saw the boat launch. And on my last night, I went down there to go and confront the police. I am down on a road in the north of France. To my right is the road. To my left is the jetty that leads to the beach. Guess what? There's a British man here, that's me. There's hundreds of millions of pounds of British taxpayers' money on these shores, which is being sent here to tackle the crisis. And guess who isn't here? On a main passage to miles of coastline. The French police. The French gendarmes. I want to have it out with them. I want to say to the police, you know, what I have watched you, every movement, every step of the way over 2 weeks. I've watched you doing absolutely nothing to stop these migrants on their journey to make the illegal crossing. Now, my country, my government is sending your government millions upon millions of pounds.
Stop it.
And you're doing absolutely nothing. That's what I wanted to say. I really wanted to get off my chest. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that because I've got to the point where they were guarding the beach. Activity down here tonight. Do you speak English? Anybody speak English? No. No English. English? No English, no? No? No migrants?
No migrants.
No? Okay. And no English sentence, no? No, okay. So I asked him the question and he turned around to me and said, no speak English.
There's a surprise.
Yeah.
What would be your message to Keir Starmer, to the British government, about what you have observed? Are the British people being told the truth about what is going on in these migrant camps?
These people are definitely not doctors and engineers, and that is the narrative that we are being fed from the government, even loosely that they might be able to come and assist us in our employment market. But these people don't have skills. These people aren't coming from another economy to work in our economy. They don't have skills that we can use in our country, and for that reason, Keir Starmer needs to stop telling lies to the people of our nation.
How are you left feeling about what is going on in the migrant camps of Dunkirk?
This place is lawless. It's dangerous. This is it's its own little world inside of France. Like, there is some deep, dark, horrible people in those woods, and they are they do not care about human life. They do not care. They are dangerous people. Honestly, my message after finding what I found out and experiencing that is just wake up, Britain. Wake up.
A Home Office spokesperson said, "We do not comment on independent operational matters for the French authorities. France remains a critical partner in securing our borders, and our joint work has already prevented over 21,000 crossing attempts so far this year. Thanks to our landmark deal, people crossing in small boats can now also be detained and removed."
We approached the French Interior Ministry with our findings. They did not respond.
Wow. Shout out to Christian Drogan. What a man. What a lion. And this is it. What is his government doing for any of us? They're not doing anything. They're allowing these people to come in and cause absolute barbaric issues, let's say. Let's try to speak without getting took down now. Shout out also to Isabella Oakeshott. As I stated before, I'm not a fan. I find it strange, her and her husband's relationship, seeing as all she don't use his last name. But well done on this. I'm very impressed. And Christian, you're amazing. Thank you. But something needs to give. And right now, it's not, as we know it's not. So let me know what you think about it all. And I hope you enjoyed it.